Assalamu alaikum. So today I'm going to discuss a case of Eales disease, a suspected case of Eales disease with a vitreous hemorrhage that I did. So as you can see, there is a lot of dehymed blood, and I proceed to do a corpectomy, and I cannot visualize the optic disc. A preliminary B scan was done, and mm, there was no sign of any directional retinal detachments. So as you can see, the disc is the uh, vitreous is firmly attached to some fibrovascular pegs, and pulling on it results in bleeding. And so I have to hold it very near its base and be very careful not to trim it too much, otherwise it will be difficult for me to induce a PVD. And I move the front sideways, and I go in very near the disc, and at very high vacuum I engage the vitreous, and here I'm pulling on it very carefully, watching for any unnecessary pull on the retina which may result in a retinal break. And it is very firmly adherent to these 2 points. So I'm now thinking whether I should trim it, or I should try to pull the vitreous, detach the vitreous from those points. And at this point I stop, because I'm afraid that I might cause a retinal break. I've been successful of detaching the vitreous from one area, and now here I try to pull on it, and now it is resulting in a retinal break. So I stop, and I realize that I have to trim it, otherwise I might tear the retina. So adequate visualization is very important in retinal surgery, and here I'm successful in trimming it. And as you can see, there are a lot of sclerosed vessels, and here I continue to detach it to the periphery. So now, as you can see, this peg, I decide to trim it even further. I have to I closely watch the shadow of the cutter to see as long as I don't touch the retina. And as I trim the peg, there is a slight amount of bleeding from the apex of the peg, and such maneuvers are always better done under higher magnification. So you should be adept at using your visualization systems. Now I am going to use endocautery to cauterize the peg apex where there is bleeding, and here at that point I've cauterized it, and fortunately the bleeding has stopped. So this is the peripheral rough of vitreous, and I always avoid pulling on it because sometimes I've observed that it results in iatrogenic breaks, so I prefer trimming it. However, you have to do it very carefully, otherwise there is a difficulty in delineating this rough from the underlying retina, and you might end up cutting the retina. So you have to be very slow and meticulous. So now if there is some blood mixed with this peripheral vitreous, it might leach post-operatively if you have not used a long-term tamponade. Then it will result in a recurrent hemorrhage. So now I go to a fluid exchange, and I always prefer to apply laser in here because it gives me a wider field of view, and it also stops any pore or bleeding. So I close the case with C3F8 long acting tamponade after doing a thorough 360 degrees laser barrage. Jazakallah, thank you so much for watching.